This is the Gita class, chapter 15, sloka number 7. Purushottama Prapti Yoga. We'll do the Mangalacharana prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjalasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarabhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Bhagavan Ki Jai Prabhupada Ki Jai Hara Hara Shankara Jai Jai Shankara Kaladi Shankara Kamakoti Shankara Gita Shastramidam Punyam Yav Patet Prayatav Puman Vishnof Padamavapnoti Bhayashokadivajitāh Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namanyani Karmapyekam Tasya Devasya Deva Krishna. So Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Devaki Putra's Gita is just one Shastram you can follow. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva, only one God is Devaki Putra. One God in the sense like Upasana Marga. Okay, you like it? That's what Upasana, you focus on that God. Just there is one God anyway. Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namanyani. Only one mantra is Krishna, his name. Karma Pyekam Tasya Devasya Seva. Karma is that seva of the Bhagavan. So if you continue to do this, eventually you will realize your nature and then you will be get out from this samsara. Okay, now 7th sloka. Mamayevamsho jiva loke jiva bhutas sanatanaha manashashthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Mamayevamsho jiva loke jiva bhutas sanatanaha manashashthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Mamayevamsho jiva loke jiva bhutas sanatanaha manashashthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Mama, my, eva, certainly, amshaha, fragmental particle, jiva loke, in the world of conditioned life, jiva bhutaha, the conditioned living entity, sanatanaha, eternal, manaha, with the mind, shashthani, the six, indriyani, senses, prakriti, in material nature, sthani, situated, karishati, is struggling hard. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind. So the key points are the Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Jiva Bhuta means living entities. We are all living entities. Humans, birds, whatever you see, Chara, Achara, everyone. There is a living entity in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. We are the eternal fragmental parts of the Lord, Bhagavan Vandevaha. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdaye. So one absolute truth. 3 Shabdas are used in the Shastra: Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So Jiva Bhutas are eternal parts of the fragmental parts of that Bhagavan. Due to conditioned life, because of the conditioning of the upadhis, that's called upadhis. Okay? Manashasthani indriyan prakritisthani karshati. Mama evamsho jivaloke jivabhut. Condition means jivabhutaha, jivaloke. So jivabhutaha, conditioned, due to conditioned life, because of this limited body, indriyas, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankaras, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which includes the mind. Bhagavan is saying, His pity on us that we are all struggling very hard with 6 senses, which includes the mind. So the 5 senses are Shrotra, Chakshu, Rasa, like a Shrotra, Chakshu, Rasa, Grana, Shrotam Chakshusparshanam cha Rasanam Grhanam cha. Shrotam Chakshusparshanam cha Rasanam Grhanam cha. 5 senses. Okay. Like the eyes, ears, like basically the seeing, and then the hearing, and then the smelling, and then the tasting, and then the touching. Those are all the 6 senses, and we are struggling which includes mind. 5 senses, and the 6th sense is called the mind. So mind also can be detailed as like mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankaras, depending on the functions, but it can be one. So basically gross body and the subtle body. Mainly it's all intermingled. Basically that is how we are conditioned because of the having the body. Now but our true nature is Atman, Satchitananda. So there were several philosophies are there. We don't need to worry about that. Whether it's Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, whatever maybe your intuition is, whatever the vasanas, whatever your jiva loka, whatever your prayana, whatever things you like it, but this is the fact that we are Atman. Whether it's one Atma or Advaita or Visishta Advaita. Okay? It doesn't matter at this moment of the time, it doesn't matter to us at all. The only thing is like what we need to do is like control the indriyas, and then shama, dama, titiksha, and then those sadhanas, if you keep on doing it, we will realize our own true nature. Then when we realize it, then at that time we know whether it's a Dvaita, Advaita or Visishta Advaita. Like Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, each has its own value. You don't need to worry about that. It's like almost like a salt dal. Salt dal went to see the ocean. That is Dvaita. Salt dal thinks I am different and ocean is different. That is Dvaita. The moment it enters and it enters near the beach, it feels the salt, the smell and all that things, waves and everything. It feels that, hey, I am also like that, but I am small, that is big. That is Visishta Advaita. The moment salt dal enters into the water, into the ocean, to see that, it merges entirely, that is Advaita. So for our mind state, what are the things we need to do? Whatever may be, it doesn't matter much. It's all fighting only happens. So no need to fight between the Jnana Marga, Bhakti Marga, or whatever Marga. Just take it and then move on and try to improve it. Okay? So that's what. Now let's see the purport. In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord eternally. That's what it is, eternally. So we don't need to achieve something. We don't need to do something to get that. We are already eternally fragmental parts of the Lord, Supreme Lord. Okay? It is not that he assumes individuality in his conditioned life and in his liberated state becomes one with the Supreme Lord. He is eternally fragmented. It is clearly said Sanatanaha. According to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in the innumerable expansions, of which primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattvas and secondary expansions are called living entities. In other words, Vishnu Tattva is the personal expansion and the living entities are the separate expansions. By his personal expansion, he is manifested in various forms like Lord Rama, Narasimhadeva, Vishnu Murti, and all other predominant deities in the Vaikuntha planets. The separate expansions, the living entities, are eternally servitus. The personal expansion of the Supreme Personal Godhead, the individual entities of the Godhead are always present. Similarly, the separate expansions of the living entities have their identities. As fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the living entities also have fragmental parts, portions of his qualities, of which independence is one. Every living entity as an individual soul has his personal individuality and a minute form of the independence. By misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul, and by proper use of independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal, as the Supreme Lord is. In his liberated state, he is free from this material condition and he is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. In his conditioned life, he is dominated by the material modes of nature and he forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. So that's what kind of like explanation by this Marga people. So basically, we are all living entities, we are basically, here Prabhupada says that it's like a, what is that, personal expansions and whatever individual entities, and then the, what is it, personal expansions and separate expansions, whatever maybe, it's all. So the avatars are there, one Bhagavan, he takes several avatars, and all the living entities are there. And living entities are conditioned by the native material modes, 3 modes of material nature. That's why they are conditioned, but still they get the little bit of independence. Okay, little bit of independence, minute independence, and misuse of that becomes a conditioned life. That is what Prabhupada is explaining here. But actually, in reality, we are also Satchitananda like Bhagavan eternally. Nothing need to, we just need to get out from this conditioned state of existence. Next para, the living entities, not only human beings and cats and dogs, but even the greater controls of the material world, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, are all parts and parts of the Supreme Lord. They are all eternal, not temporary manifestations. The word Karishati, struggling or grappling hard, is very significant. The conditioned soul is bound up, as though shackled by iron chains. He is bound up by the false ego, and the mind is the chief agent which is driving him in this material existence. When the mind is in the mode of goodness, his activities are good. When the mind is in the mode of passion, his activities are troublesome. When the mind is in the mode of ignorance, he travels in the lower species of life. It is clear, however, in this verse that conditioned soul is covered by the material body with the mind and senses, and when he is liberated, this material covering perishes. But his spiritual body manifests itself in the individual capacity. The following information is there in the Madhyandinayana Shruti. Savayesha Brahmanishta idam shariram matyam atisrijya brahmabhisampatya brahmana pashyati brahmana shrunoti brahmanaivedam sarvam anubhavati. It is stated here that when a living entity gives up this material embodiment and enters into the spiritual world, he revives his spiritual body, and in his spiritual body he can see the Supreme Personal Godhead face to face. He can hear and speak to him face to face, and he can understand the Supreme Personality as he is. From Smriti also it is understood, Vasanti yatra purushaha sarve vaikunta murtayaha. In the spiritual planets, everyone lives in bodies featured like the Supreme Personality Godheads. As far as the bodily construction is concerned, there is no difference between the part and parcel living entities and the expansions of Vishnumurti. In other words, at the liberation, the living entity gets a spiritual body by the grace of Supreme Personality Godhead. Satchitananda Vigraha, mainly these are all personal forms it worships, so personal form of the Lord. That is how its purport is. Now the next para is the word Mamayavamsha, fragmental part and parcel of Supreme Lord, are also very significant. The fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord is not like some material broken part. We have already understood in the second chapter that spirit cannot be cut into pieces. This fragment is not materially conceived. It is not like a matter which can be cut into pieces and joined together again. That conception is not applicable here because the Sanskrit word Sanatana, eternal, is used. The fragmental portion is eternal. It is also stated in the beginning of the second chapter that in each and every individual body, the fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord is present. Dehinosmin yadadehe. That fragmental portion, when liberated from the bodily entanglement, revives its original spiritual body in the spiritual sky, in the spiritual planet, and enjoys association with the Supreme Lord. It is, however, understood here that the living entity, being the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is qualitatively one with the Lord, just as parts and parcels of the gold are also gold. That is the end of the purport. So this is a kind of like one understanding. Okay, so basically here we says like part and parcel of the Supreme Lord is like not, is in this para, he's saying like it is not like a material parts. It is like a spiritual parts. Whether the spiritual there is a part or not, we don't know. Because the spiritual is, there is Ananta, the Buddhi can't able to get that spirituality. Because Buddhi can't able to Buddhi and Indriyas, they cannot able to accumulate or assimilate the spiritual tattvas. Those are all aparoksha anubhuti only. So not paroksha, not pratyaksha, aparoksha, the different one. That is a sakshi chetana, basically sakshi, observer. So then that's what basically here it says, like we are, if you really see, understand that we are like a spiritual body. Satchitananda, our nature is Sat Chittananda. Always we need to remember that we are the Brahman. And whether we are the part and parcel of the Parabrahman or just there is one Brahman, forget about that. So it's like a but currently our position is we are struggling with the six senses includes the mind. So as explained in the previous para, when the mind, we can, this is all the practical things we can easily find it. The spiritual part, we need to realize our own self. Whereas the material parts, we can easily find with our experience, we with the shastric things and our experience is exactly matching. We can easily observe our mind. We can easily observe our moods and thoughts. Sometimes we are so nice, good, in the good mode of goodness. That is Sattvaga, Satviguna. Sometimes we are always running. That's a ragam, and then desham, kamam, krodham, and all that things. It's all mode of passion. Always fighting, always working, always doing something like that. And sometimes we are so lethargic that we are almost like a inert. That is a tamoguna. That is nidra alasya nidrabhi. So the 14th chapter, the previous chapter explained all these three modes of nature. So that is how we are conditioned by that, the vasanas, and then all our, so that's why all our thoughts and all our indriya vyaparas. See, if you really see from morning to night, waking state, we are all doing, what we are doing is we are just doing the indriya vyaparas only, all the indriyas. And even at the night also, whatever we accumulated, the mind is enjoying in that part only. The deep sleep, all the body is slept, and then in the inert state, and at that time we are there, but with the ignorance. That is what it is, Sakshi. And the fourth Turiya is our state. That's what the Shastra says too. So we can easily experience that. So that's why, like Ramakrishna Paramahansa always says, another story is like the three modes. So one rich person is going through the forest, three thieves they caught, they took all their wealth, and then they bound up. That is what our position is. We are bound up right now. All our wealth is stolen. That is what Satchitananda, that's Atmagyan Ratnapaharaya Tasmat Jagrata. So all are stolen. So one thief says that just kill him. That is what the mode of Tamogun. When you are in the mode of Tamogun, it's very hard to get out, and then the bounding, the ropes that bound is very tight. And there is literally no independence. When you are in the mode of goodness and passion, at least little bit of freedom. But the mode of passion is like we will just tie this guy, and then we will starve him to death. So eventually he will die, something like that. So we will tie and then leave it. So he will die on its own. So why unnecessarily we need to? That's what the mode of passion. Then they all slept, and the night, the one good thief, he just woke up before them, and then he untied all those ropes, and he asked him to let go out of the forest. And then the guy said, "Oh, I don't know the route, and I'm so disturbed. My mind is gone." Then the thief, this good thief, directed him, took him, and then he always says that, "Go left and right. That's where your home is." Then the person said that, "You helped me so much. I'll give you tea, come to my home." This thief says, no, I am also thief, I cannot come. So that is what the mode of goodness is. Mode of goodness is unties the ropes, and then it will direct us to our home. But it won't even come also, because that is also Prakriti, ourselves we need to go. So these are all the examples given. Basically, we are all struggling with the senses. If you really say how we are struggling, it's all our experience. That we can focus on that more than our amshas. We all know that we are that, and then we are eternal, and then we are Satchitanandatma. We don't need to do anything. We are already there. And then only thing is like you need to clean up the upadhis. And then be on the goodness, Shuddha Sattvas, whatever marga you choose, and then you realize your own true nature. So how the indriyas bother you, like we already know that Shama, Dama, Titiksha and all that thing. Even Krishna explained in the second chapter, Dhyayato Vishyam Punsaha Sangatseshu Upajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibram Smriti Vibramshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashati. Main is the desire to enjoy. That is what it is killing us. For that, dhyayato vishayam punsaha, always the mind is thinking about the objects. That is what the first step is. Dhyayato vishayam punsaha, sangaseshu vijayata, that's where the sangha is happening. So, jita sangha dosha, they explained in the 4th sloka, 5th sloka, I think nirmana moha, jita sangha dosha means this sangha. This is attachment is happening. That is where the detachment should happen here itself. So when you are contemplating on the objects, because of the vasanas, you attach it to certain objects only. Because not that you attach it to all the objects. Some likes eating, some likes to seeing, some likes to hearing. That's all. The different jivas are in the different shackles. So we need to analyze our own. What is the ones which is some wants to touch it all the time. That is what it is. So because of the contemplating on these things, and especially in the Kali Yuga, if you really see outside world, everything is so distractive, and so much outside the Maya is that it's like every moment there is a provocating things happening. And then even if you are in the old age also, you can hide your age, you can hide everything literally, and then you can appear like a younger person, so that again all the provocations are happening. The Yayati, King Yayati, he got 2 lives in his in the one life itself, but at the end of the time, at the end of the second life, he says that I am trying to enjoy with the indriyas. It's like almost like trying to stop the fire by putting a ghee on it. That is what it is, the statement mentioned in the Bhagavatam, King Yayati. And so many stories are there in the Bhagavatam where when you are entangled in the indriya bhogas, then you will be almost dead. That's what Bhagavan is saying, Karshati. And Ajamila also, we saw that he's a Brahmin guy. Up to 16 years, he followed so many tapashyas and everything, but finally, when he is attacked, just he saw one Vaishya and then one Sudrani enjoying with another girl, another boy, and that disturbed him, and then he entangled in that, and then he spent so many years with her, and then left his own wife and all those stuff, and then again, that's what the mind is. So that's what so many stories are saying, that this thing. So basically, we need to watch our mind and the indriyas all the time, not just because talking is okay, outside is okay, behavior is okay, but always we should be observing our own stuff. And sometimes even if you try hard, the indriyas are going to pull us, the jivas, like anything. So that means for that, all you need to is have the patience, sitiksha. So it's like just to watch, and then do more tapasya. Try to do more and more tapasya, and then try to watch those indriyas, and then how that indriya is bothering us, and try to have that titiksha, and eventually with the knowledge we are going to get rid of that. So Vedantartha vicharena jayate jnanamuttamam tenatyantika dukkhanasho bhavatyanu. Vedanta Artha Vicharana, always analyze the Vedanta Arthas like Vivekam, Vairagyam and all that, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya and all those. So like that, Vedanta Artha, the Upanishads and the Gita told so many things. Keep on analyzing, contemplating on that, and trying to control the Indriyas. So for that, you need to follow Shama, Dhamma, Titiksha, Uparati, and all those things, come, like controlling the mind, controlling the Indriyas, always reminding yourselves what are the things, and then what is the body made up of, and then how actually the Sukha is coming from out of the Indriyas, whether it is really coming from the objects or it is our own nature, our own Sukha only manifesting when that pressure is gone. Okay, that is what it is. And always if you analyze it, the entire waking state, if you really see, the thoughts keep on moving based on the one or the more desires all the time. So for that, again, the Bhakti Marga, if you choose the Bhakti Marga, then all those desires and everything, you just give it to Bhagavan, ask for him only, and also whatever happens, take it as a prasadam. Then you don't have the grudges, and then you don't have the hankering for enjoying more and more. Get the reality of the picture. After you enjoy certain things, you should know, and then try to not to do it, at least stop from the outside. So there is a story like one day, one time, the Ramakrishna one lady came, and then she said that she came from far away, and after 2 hours of journey, she said like, my kid is eating a lot of sweets. Can you please explain? Can you please tell him? Then Ramakrishna says, okay, come next week. Next week came, and then next week Ramakrishna simply says to the kid that, hey, don't eat the chocolates. It is bad for your health. Then the lady astonished and then surprised, and she said like, why can't you tell the same thing in the last week? Then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, I also like the sweets. That's why the whole week I practiced it, and then I thought like it can be easily controlled. That is why now I told the same thing. So that is what it is. Practical is a very important thing, and then practice is the main thing. That is where we need to analyze it and then structure the life in such a way that you don't waste the time. You don't spend more time on contemplating on the objects or enjoying the senses. So it is a journey. It is life after life. It is coming. So we might have some hankerings which we cannot get rid of that in this lifetime maybe. So that is why you need to practice, and at the same time, the Bhakti Marga is love to the Bhagwan. Keep on remembering the Lord's name. Keep on chanting the Lord's name, and then his activities and his leelas and all that. Like in the Gita itself says, Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kadayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyamte Charamanticha. Think about the Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Mano Buddhi, everything. Keep on Bhagwan only. Even in the fourth chapter also says, right? What is that? Tattvataha Janma Karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punajjanma naiti mameti sochana. His Janma, his karma are Daivam, Divyam, and then so focus on that and then keep on analyzing that. Even still while you are doing also, there are vasanas. That's why when you say that, oh, there is a sadhu guy, but he is entangled in the sex desires, sometimes it happens and he falls down. That's because of the strongest vasanas coming from life after life after life. So that's why, doesn't mean that there is an excuse here. There is no excuse. But what I'm saying is like the power of the previous lives. That's what it is. So here, again, we are all struggling with the indriyas. So the moment you get rid of the indriyas and then you are detached from the indriyas and then you are in your swarupa, Satchitananda, that's where your real happiness is. The indriyas are behind all the objects, going with the objects and trying to search for what exactly. Everything is trying to search the happiness. But the happiness is already, we are the happiness swarupa. Satchit Ananda Swarupa says, but we don't get any happiness from the outside world in the objects. That's what our practical experience shows. That only thing is like we need to be smart and get it and analyze, digest it, and then get convinced on that. So, for example, if I see myself, these many lives I lived, these many years I lived, and then I experienced all the taste and all the the smell and all the the drishyas, seeing, and then all the hearings and all the touch, but still I am hankering, means what I did I learn anything? So at least that's why even says Krishna says that at the end of the Shaknoti Havayasodam Praksharira Vimoksha Kama Krodot Bhavam Vegam Saiktasa Sakinaha. At the end of life, at least try to control the forces of Kama Krodha. That's where you get the Sukha. And also he says Narakadwaram, Kama Krodha Lobhas are the 3 doors to the hell. So desire is the one. With the desire only the mind will function. If there is no desire, the mind won't function. For example, you want to go to Europe and then check out these places. That's where then the mind goes and then try to get all the information and then talks about that and then plans for that and all that stuff. But if you don't have a desire, then those activities won't be there. The thing is like so you should be the desireless state, zero desires. Any small hankering also is going to put it in the conditioned life. So when you keep on observing the desires, and then that's where you know your own true conditioned life. Okay, and that is very easy to understand, easy to know yourself. That's why spend more time with you only, understand your mind, understand your indriyas, try to control it. Okay, so that's fine. Do always only the good works, and then also don't desire anything, and all for the loka kalyanadam. You cannot sit idle without doing anything, but all the things whatever you do, it is for the loka kalyanadam, society, the healthy of the self, society, and then try to help the society and then try to not to accept, not to expect anything. And then as this sloka says, eternally we are all part and parcels. If you think Dvaita, the Vishishta Advaita, even Advaita, if you think we are all Sachitanandas, we are Atmans, we are that, and then nothing need to do. Only thing is like to clean up the this upadhi. So that's why in the Atma Bodha first sloka is Tabobhi Kshina Papanam Shantanam Vitaraginam Mumukshonam Apekshoyam Atma Bodha Vidhi. For Atma Bodha we get Tabobhi Kshina Papanam Tapavita Tapasa, control Kshina Papanam, remove all the sins, and then Vitaraga Tabobhi Kshina Papanam Shantanam Vitaraginam. Vitaraginam Ragadveshas, just leave it and then give Santa Shanti state, and then Mumukshonam Apekshoyam. Apeksha, only the one you are expecting is the liberation or the love of God. Okay? I'll end up here. Krishna Bhagavan, Prabhupada.